I want to start here. You are back full-time, in person, every school, every child. It's been a long time since we were there, and a lot has changed. We lost a lot of ground during that time. Talk about the opening of school this year, the challenges ahead, and how you're facing them.
Yeah, well, last year, all of our children were back in person. All schools were open, with the exception of about 3,000, 2,000 that were in the virtual school. But a lot of stop and goes last year. Surges, infection rates high, close contacting, quarantine. So although we were back last year, it just didn't feel normal. We were managing COVID. I would say 80% of my job, and probably teachers, principals, just heavy on COVID. This year when we opened, we've been open now for about over 20 days, it just feels a lot better. It feels more normal. We're still dealing with the challenges or lingering challenges of the pandemic, but it feels better. It feels more normal. And I think that there's an energy, a positive energy of just now seeing some momentum and a clear pathway forward to just get back to the student achievement work.
Yeah. We lost ground here in Detroit. Well, that doesn't make us unique, because most school districts had a hard time with it. But things visit on our kids, our families, our community really differently than other places. Talk about some of the things that happened that really you have to focus on and maybe have you concerned still as we go forward.
Well, when you look at just running the district and what are the challenges that we're facing. So one, enrollment. So we lost about 3,000 students when you look at where we were when the pandemic hit. March 2020, we are at the highest level of our enrollment. First time we saw an increase in 2 decades at about 51,000. We just turned the corner on count. It looks like we are now down maybe 2,000 to 1,500 compared to our peak before the pandemic. So enrollment. Other issue is just disrupting the normal flow of attendance. Just last year, I'm over with online learning, devices, parents feeling comfortable, young children not going to school, not being comfortable online, a lot of disruption to coming to school on a day-to-day basis. So last year, even though we were in person, 80% of our students missed 18 or more days. And so just sort of the regularity of coming to school every day was highly disrupted. The surges, online learning, but also just close contact and quarantine. Students that weren't vaccinated had to quarantine for 14 days, even if they weren't sick. And then that got dropped to 10, and then all that negatively impacts student achievement.
I want to talk about the $700 million that is coming in through ARPA to help with infrastructure in the schools principally. I've covered schools for a long time in the city. I don't know that we've had many bond issues that have brought us more money at one time to do that. So talk about what you want to do and why it will matter to kids every day.
Well, I think the biggest impact for children and staff will be air conditioning. Right now only about 20% of our schools have air conditioning, and people will say, oh, well, I went to school, we didn't have air conditioning. Well, it's 2022, and air conditioning is sort of part of our life. And when you get into June and even certain months in August, or days in August and September, it can be hot. We have to close schools or go half days, and it gets uncomfortable when it gets warm. So that's a significant. But going back to neighborhood schools, investing in a brand new Pershing building, brand new Cody, building a new building in Southwest Detroit with probably an arts focus to feed into Detroit School of the Arts. So on a day-to-day basis, just buildings that are not going to disrupt learning around just better HVAC systems, better roofs, and sort of mundane day-to-day things that can be highly disruptive to learning. But beyond that, innovative in some new school buildings, especially to preserve some neighborhood schools.
Yeah, I want to talk just a little about the future, right? Things are getting back to normal. What are your expectations, or what would you tell a parent their expectations should be for how quickly we recover from everything that's happened over the last 3 years?
Well, I think that there'll be long-lasting negative impacts of the pandemic. I mean, I think I'm dealing with it. you know, it was not easy
Yeah.
managing the district during the
No,
pandemic.
sure.
And that affected our teachers, our principals, our parents who lost loved ones, our children. So there is no magic wand to say, you know, we have to live with that history. But I am confident, and I would tell any parent this, is that by the end of this academic year, if you send your child to school consistently, we're going to not only show a years of growth, but probably 2 years of growth, and be even closer to being at and above grade level performers.
Yeah.
I know it's not a matter of I wish, I hope. In 1819, we did it. We moved the needle academically.
Right.
And I know we can, it's not about doing things radically different. It's just going back to the work that we were doing. And I think adding and filling some gaps that we had around mental health and some broader holistic approaches to supporting families, which I think we're doing a lot better as a district. So the average parent needs to know that at the end of this year, we're going to see improvement in student achievement. We just need parents to do their part by sending their children to school on a day-to-day basis.